11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Ferraro won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
And thanks to those joining us live, those that have joined us on the archive, D style here. I'm being joined by Lyndon of Boxing Deep Dive. How's it going, Lyndon?
Good, mate. How about yourself?
I'm doing really good. It looks like I'm repping
Yes.
Boxing Deep Dive. You know what I mean? So,
Like
so
the
there you
beanie
go.
there, mate.
Somebody's got to wear the beanie. We're the ones that are cold right now, so. I don't think you should be wearing a beanie. It's kind of like what's the temperature out there right now?
Well, today here where I live, it's going to be. I'm just trying to think in your language, I suppose. Fahrenheit, is it? I think it's going to be around high 90s here, if I can work that out.
Okay.
Yeah, about
That is pretty
98,
hot.
99, something like that. Yeah.
Is it humid? Does it get pretty humid there?
Depends where you are. Where I am, it's pretty much a dry heat, actually. Yeah, It's a dry heat. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's the temperature here in El Paso. El Paso's pretty dry and very dry, actually. So let's get this show on the road. First of all, yes, we're going to talk about Barrios Garcia. That's the main topic. But just a couple of things. It's been a while since we've had an opportunity to talk some boxing here. My Sundays, I've been watching NFL football and all that, but and that exciting Super Bowl. I mean, that was so exciting to watch. Probably one of the worst Super Bowls I've seen ever, but it is. I fell asleep like in the third quarter. But
Is that right? Jeez, that's when you know it's bad. Well, I support all teams from Boston, so I had a little bit of a vested interest. Well, with the Patriots, but
Sure.
I'm just one of those closet supporters. That's all I am.
Okay, there you go. So, New England closet supporter, Patriot fan. Got it.
Yeah, all things. I love the Red Sox, but especially the Celtics. I love the Celtics, but
Okay.
yeah, we've had a bit of success over the last few years.
Yeah, but Boston had a hell of a run for a while. Yeah.
Yep.
That's 100%.
Mm.
So I don't like New England, so I'm glad they lost. That's in the story. Let's start with Tim Tszyu. First of all, Lyndon, I'm hearing a lot of criticisms about this fight or potential fight. I don't know. Is it? Do you know if it's official? Like 100%? Like it's going to happen? Or
This is the Jacob NG fight you're talking about, or
no? I'm talking about
the Spence fight.
Tim Tszyu Spence. Is it like a real agreement that they have, or
Apparently it is. Well, it's all over the sites here, and there's he will fight on the 22nd of March here against an Australian opponent. It looks like it's going to be Jacob NG, who I'm sure is a household name over there.
Yeah, I'm there.
Oh, look, my first thing with I understand why they want to have.
Why would he fight an Australian over there? Like, where's he fighting the Australian again?
It'll be that hasn't been confirmed yet. It looks like it'll probably be in Queensland, so Brisbane or on the Gold Coast. That'll be the Liam Paro Crocker card. But the interesting thing is, even though Paro and Crocker is for the world title, Tim Tszyu will still be the main event apparently. So. Which does make sense. But the fighter he's fighting, look, he's come up from 135. His name's Jacob NG. So his last name is actually NG. That's his name. And look, good fighter, but he's come up from 135. He's had one fight that went one round at 154. And now he looks like he's going to be in line to fight Tim Tszyu in the tune-up. And then I think they're talking about June 6th here in Australia for the Spence fight.
I'll be honest. I've been so busy. this is like news to me, like about that. So that's good to hear. I knew he was in a fight again. I just didn't know who the opponent was, nor did I hear that there was anything announced. So that's that. That tells you where my head's been at. But look, I'm all for it. Anyone who heard my take after Tim Tszyu lost to Fundora, and even after he announced he's going to make a change in team and of a management team and new trainer and everything, I was one of the first. I came out and I said, look, it needs to be a process. He can't just go in there, jump in there with the killers again, and he's going to have to work his way back up. It's just that's the proper way to do it. So I like what I'm seeing. I know there's a lot of criticisms about the opponents, and they want him to go in there. I don't know who I guess they want him to fight Boots and Virgil and a trilogy with Fundora, and just go in there with all the best. Go to 160 and fight the champions there now. Like it's like everybody needs to calm down. And there's a reason a lot of people aren't boxing managers. There's a reason they don't. There's a reason that's not their line of work. But I just feel it's like. Even if you're not, it should be common sense here. You need to rebuild Tim Tszyu. So when they announced that potentially he'll be fighting Spence in June, I hear what people are saying, Lyndon, like, oh, he's been inactive. The last time we saw him, he got beat up by Crawford. I hear all that, but yeah, that's the type of guy right now, anyway, that Tim Tszyu should be fighting before he fights for a world title again. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they've got to be, or they've stated, obviously, they've got to be very careful on how they bring Tim back. But at the same time, he's, I think, nearly 31, or he might have even been 31 years of age at the moment. So he's got to get a move on. So it's sort of that balance between, do we sort of guide him through, or at the same time, we have to put him in the mix, especially the way it stands at the moment. You got Xander Zayas, who holds 2 belts at the moment, who's very beatable. You got Josh Kelly, who has the other belt, very beatable. WBC, not so much, of course. He's been through that twice. So maybe they're just trying to fast track him that way. I mean, I think there's a lot of factors at play here. And one is that, as I said, I've got to get him back in there while these champions are there. Because if Boots or Ortiz get their hands on those belts, I strongly doubt either Tim or Errol are taking those belts off either of those guys. So I sort of get it. But at the same time, they've got to be very cautious with his comeback. Now, I think there's a lot of Aussie fans, I'm sure you've seen the fight as well with Velasquez. It wasn't the most impressive fight for Tim. I think he really sort of, you could see confidence-wise, still very much down. So this is probably why I think they want to get him the next fight with the Aussie guy before Spence. But I don't mind the fight. I think they're in very similar situations at the moment. Obviously, Spence has achieved a lot more than what Tim has. But I'm all for rolling the dice and saying, okay, it's now or never. Let's go. Let's risk it. He's been out for 3 years. He got towed up in his last fight. They're not going to get a better chance to get a scalp. Big scalp for Tim Tszyu and get him back in the mix. So, yeah, I can see why they're doing it. I can also see why there's criticisms, but me personally, I think it's the right move.
I think I agree with you. I think it's the right move. It's a name, and it's a crossroads fight for both guys. You know, there's a lot of questions about Spence, but in fairness, there's a lot of questions about Tim as well. Like, you know what I mean? And, well, you might as well put them in the ring with each other. And like, there's still going to be, no matter who wins this fight, there's still going to be questions, right? If Spence beats Tim Tszyu, we already know. I believe I know what people are going to say anyway, right? Oh yeah, but Tim, he was already beat up in his last few fights, and that's why Spence came back against him. It was a cherry pick opponent. And if Tim Tszyu beats Spence, it's going to be the same thing. Why you pick Spence? Because he was a name. So I get it, but it's not going to end there. Like if Tim Tszyu was the reigning super welterweight champion of the world, and he had beaten Fundora, he never lost to Murtazaliev, and he was undefeated still. Yeah, I would be criticizing this fight. I would be like, well, what are you doing fighting Spence right now? You got these other guys, but that's not where he is right now, right? He's on his way to the top. On his way to the top, well, if he happens to run into a veteran, former unified welterweight champion of the world, and Errol Spence, I'm all for it. Why not? And I'll say this other thing is, Yes, he took a beating in the last fight, but that was against Terrence Crawford. Like it's not like some random dude Joe Schmo down the street beat him up. He lost to probably the best fighter of this generation, the same guy, by the way, that just went up to 168 and beat Canelo Alvarez. Like this is not some nobody he beat. And another thing, Lyndon, it's not like this guy you just mentioned. Obviously, he's coming from 130, but Spence is a welterweight or was, but big welterweight, and he was there for a lot of years, and he looked very sunk in the last few weigh-ins, and I think this will be a better weight class for him, assuming it's there. I don't know if it'll be at a higher weight class. I'm assuming it's going to be at 154, but maybe it's 160, but nonetheless, it's still a veteran in there, and if Spence has a little bit left, that jab could cause problems for Tim. He's got, solid power, really good boxing skills. He's going to apply a lot of pressure on Tim. So regardless, I don't care how quote unquote washed up people say he is. If Crawford, beat him too bad or whatever the case is, Errol Spence is still Errol Spence. And any fight of that caliber could put it together at least for one night. So I don't think it's a gimme for Tim Tszyu, the fight.
Oh, no, not at all. And the thing is, I mean, we talk about, like you said, it's a no-win situation as far as whoever beats who's. It's beaten a washed-up version or an overrated version or whatever it might be. But I suppose you've got to look at the flip side and the positives, that whoever wins the fight is going to be very, very hot property. Errol Spence will be back. He's just beaten Tim. Yep, he was overrated, but Spencer's back, and all of a sudden everyone wants a piece of him. If Tim wins, he's still a big name out there. He's got that signature victory, the legacy victory, I suppose, and then he'll be straight back in the mix as well. So I think the positives sort of just even at least balance out the negatives involved, and not to mention it's a really good payday for both guys. And I just think it's a good fight between the two. Both have massive question marks over the top of them or around them, but both have got some massive upside as well. So I think it's just one of those fights that it's the perfect storm sort of thing, and they meet at exactly the right time. Yep. And do either fighter deserve a big fight? Probably not. Do they deserve a world title fight? Probably not. But if whoever wins this fight is going to be straight in line for one of those guys. Look at even with Thurman. I mean, Thurman was out for he had one fight in 6 years or whatever it's been, or 7 years, or two fights, whatever it's been, and had a fight over an unknown Aussie here in Australia, and all of a sudden he's back into a big world title fight. So when you're the caliber of these guys, you just need one type of win or one win in general, and you're straight back in the mix. And I think either of these two guys, whoever wins, is going to be hot property. I'm surprised though. I don't know. What do you reckon, D-Styles, why they would want the fight here? I understand it gives Tim home ground advantage, but I would have thought fighting it maybe in Dallas would be just as far as money and eyeballs on the fight goes, would probably be a little bit better. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I heard the reports that it might go to Australia, but something tells me it's not.
Well, that's what's being reported here, that it's going to be in Australia, but I'm still not convinced.
Yeah. The reason, look, it might be, but like, here's why it might be in Australia, even though I don't think it will. But if there's an argument for it, is PBC isn't exactly in a very lucrative position at the moment. Like they don't have a lot of sway at the moment. They don't have a lot going on. I don't think the Funduras Thurman fight's going to sell all that well, and I don't think Amazon is going to be keen to really push for another pay-per-view like that. That's why it might be, but I just think the name Spence it's going to hit a little different. I do think they could sell out an arena out there. I don't think we'll see Cowboy Stadium again, but at the moment, but I do think like a good arena can potentially hold a fight, and but also, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not going to act like I know Tim Tszyu, but I could only go by the things he said and the way he talks. And it just seems to me like he really wants to make it in America. And this is a big American name. And he said several times, now granted, a lot of these things were before he lost and stuff, but that he wasn't going to come back to Australia. I'm going to go make it in the US. And I do think Tim himself might be the reason that fight ends up in the U.S., to be honest.
Yeah, it could be. And look, yeah, things changed obviously. And before the bottom fell out of Tim Tszyu's career with the Fundora and Barkram fights, he was talking about just basing himself in America. He was going to move there, of course. He was talking Crawford and Canelo and Charlo and all these fights. And then, of course, things changed. So I think he's actually in a position now where he probably can't call the shots as much as what he used to. Now it's going to be his promoters are going to be saying, well, we got to go what's for the best for all concerned, not just for Tim. So whether it's a massive event for no limit here in Australia and they see it as a bit of a money spinner, or he gets to fight in America, I think it'll all be panned out. But I think whoever's in charge of the whole thing will just be looking at what's best for everyone, not just Tim. And while he would probably want to fight in Australia, end of the day, it comes down to what other parties would think. I did think that having the fight at Dallas Cowboys would be stadium would be a bit of a stretch. Doesn't hold is it 70, 80,000 people? That's a lot of people.
That is a lot. That's too big of a stadium. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
The Mikey Garcia with Spence fight sold pretty decent there, actually.
But Mikey, obviously on the Mexican border, I suppose, a lot of fans. Is that part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah. Plus Spence was undefeated at the time, and it was. I believe this was before the car crash. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so this was like a. It was just a bigger deal, but now obviously he's been inactive. He hasn't been around. Not that his hometown peeps won't know who he is still. Like just it is what it is. But you lose a little bit of luster in how much people want to pay for tickets and all that, right?
Yeah.
But I guess for me, has Tim Tszyu been, brought down a peg? Yes, but in terms of I just don't think No Limit really has that much sway on Tim. I think they're going to do whatever Tim wants to do. It's that, or he moves on to somebody else when the contract expires. And I don't think they want to lose Tim. If I'm honest. So,
No.
And I think they're going to bend over backwards for him. To be honest with you.
Yeah, they always have been over backwards for Tim. I mean, it's always been the tail wagging the dog when it comes to Tim. He's been the one that's called the shots. But yeah, I don't know. As I said, I just got a feeling now that, especially overseas. I mean, based in America, you could probably you're obviously in a better position to talk about than me that how he's perceived over there. But here he's sort of perceived as sort of damaged goods, and even the Aussie fans are sort of a little bit hesitant about sort of jumping back on board, which is probably why.
Okay.
They want the fight here. I'm not sure, but he definitely has some ground to make up to get in the good graces of the boxing fans here. And I'm assuming over there, he's probably just seen as a washed fighter who never was. That's sort of what I see in the comment section of a lot of the posts that over there.
What happens here, like here's a reality, and people could say it's unfair, but that's just I'm just going to tell you guys how perception works in America. In America, people like winners. It just is what it is. It's just that's it. The reason boxing is losing popularity here is because the Americans are not winning gold medals. That's why they don't get behind the amateurs like that. That is the standard. It just is what it is, right? And Tim unfortunately fell short when he fought in America. So I'm a fan of Tim, but most Americans, casual fight fans, are going to look at him and say, yeah, he's just a domestic fighter. He doesn't belong in the big stage here, whatever the case is. So Tim definitely needs a big, massive win. And if he beats Spence, maybe that can help change perception. But that's just where he is right now. At the end of the day, look, if Canelo lost every time he came to the U.S., he would never become a superstar. It's just the way it is. No matter how much they loved him in Mexico, he would never become a superstar. Right? The reason Chavez, Salvador Sanchez, right? I get that's just right next door in Mexico, but the reason they became stars in America is because they were winners, right? The reason Tszyu was well known in America because he was winning, right? So that's what people want to see here. It's the way it is. People say it's unfair. It is what it is, right? And it's always been like the fighters, the foreign fighters coming in have something to prove, right? It's just the way it is. And so, yeah, I do think that if Spence were to fight Tim, I don't know how the American public will take that fight other than, it's two washed up guys fighting each other. I think that might be the perception.
probably come down to, as well as is it pay-per-view over there? Is it free? Is it, the cost of tickets? I suppose a lot of that will have to do with it. And I think people are a little bit sort of burnt at the moment, aren't they, as far as the amount of pay-per-views they've got to pay for and the cost of tickets and all that sort of stuff. So they've been a little bit more selective, and they'll be a bit more, I suppose, scrutinising the event a little bit more. But over here, look, if he fights, if Tim fights Spence here, I mean, they'll sell out any stadium in Australia. But it'd be interesting to see what sort of appeal it would have in the States.
Look, I thought, and I've been very open saying this, right? I thought Tim's career was run very well, right? I thought Glenn Jennings did a good job, bringing him up. He got Tim everything he wanted, etc. Right? However, and it's easy to say this in hindsight, I don't think he did anything was done wrong, but I do think that from the management side, there was a lot of maybe influence from the success his father had, right? In this case, Kasha, and maybe they wanted to recreate some of that magic. But times maybe have changed a little bit, and if there's anyone I believe that can, I think what it would take, and maybe it's already happened, I don't know, but what it would take for Tim to just kind of drop the whole I want to make it in America thing and think more logically and say, you know what? Yeah, he should come over here and fight me. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm going to sell pay-per-views here. It's going to sell well here in an arena, whatever. And Spence will be, I think Australian fight fans will accept Spence as a pretty good opponent.
They will.
And I think it would be a massive, I mean, I saw some of how Keith Thurman was being treated. I mean, if anyone, I think it's going to take a conversation, a sit down with him and his management, and to let him just be like, look, this is what we need to do, right? And for Tim to get it, and it's a click, and hopefully it will.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's a great thing about Mike Altamura, his manager, his new manager as well. And I think whether it's Mike or whoever needs to sit Tim down and say, hey, it's great that you want to go to America. That's fantastic. But obviously it hasn't gone well that so far, because it's bloody tough over there. Now, it's one thing to say you want to conquer America and everything else, but I don't think a lot of people, including Tim, realize how difficult it is, and the reason why fighters like Jeff Fennick and these types of guys have stayed in Australia, and not just Australia, but other fighters in England or wherever it might be. They stay where they have the advantage, where they get paid well, they have all the advantages over their opponent. Where if you go to the States, I mean, all the fun and games that get played, and try and trip you up, and they make life hard for you, and it's just a tough business over there. So I think someone would need to explain to Tim, it's great that you want to go to America and conquer over there, but why do that and really put yourself at a disadvantage when you can stay at home and have all the benefits of staying at home, go over to the States for your training camp and all that sort of stuff, but have the fights in Australia. And as I said, I think there's a reason why fighters like Jeff Fennick brought all the big opponents out to Australia, because why would he give up the advantage? I think he knows, or knew back then, how hard it is to conquer America, and how everything's against you. And you'd probably have to agree that the international fighters that come into America have to work really, really hard to not only be accepted, but also be looked after. I mean, they're going to have everything put in their way to stop them achieving and beating the American fighters. So I just think it's, as I said, it's great that Tim wants to go over there, like a lot of fighters from around the world do. But sometimes I think you've just got to be careful what you wish for, and if you have advantages, then why not take advantage of them?
I think you should go where the fight makes the most sense. And to me, it's at this moment. It would have been different a couple of years ago, right? Before he lost to Crawford. But right now, it makes more sense to do the fight in Australia. Like it's the same opponent. You're going to get the same credit, good or bad, by beating them. You might as well take all the advantages with it, right? And Spence is no stranger, by the way. He went to England to beat Cal Brooks, so it's not like he's not willing to do it. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. Like, just bring the show to Australia. And
you just
I don't
see
think PBC would be against it either, by the way.
Yeah, no, exactly. I don't either. I think they would love that as well, and it'll be on a Sunday afternoon here, which we're sort of used to now here in Australia. But
Yeah.
it's interesting too. I don't know whether you saw, was it Tim Bradley's comments as well? He said Nikita is actually a better fighter than Tim. I'm not sure whether you
Did
saw
he say
that.
that?
Yeah,
I
he said he
mean,
thinks
look, I'm not ready to say that. Like, I'm going to be honest.
no.
It's he hasn't look. Nikita has not had a perform like. I think a lot of people have kind of taken away the Harrison win from Tim by saying, "Oh, Harrison, he was old, he was washed up." I don't know, man. Like, Harrison's a good fighter, right? And Tony the Tiger, he's a good fighter, man. And that's the only guy that had beaten Jermel, by the way, in that division. So this whole idea that, but I haven't seen Nikita have a performance like that against that caliber of an opponent, right? I think the Tim Tszyu performance against Mendoza, he didn't get the knockout, but Mendoza was coming out that big knockout win over Fundora, big puncher, and Tim handled him. That's one of the best fights I've seen Tim Tszyu fight. Nikita hasn't had a performance like that against an opponent like that, right?
Yeah.
So I need to see Nikita do it against someone like that before I say anything, right? Like it's I'm not ready to say that, but it's easy to say that now that Tim is kind of coming off some losses and Nikita's still undefeated and people are just on that high, I guess. But I'm not trying to question Tim. He's going to have the eye for it. He's a former world champion, but I think he's just saying that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He didn't even know who he was till he saw the fight with Zarafa, who he couldn't pronounce his name. So.
I don't think Tim Bradley's ever been very complimentary of Tim either, from memory. I don't think he's really ever jumped on Tim as far as his abilities and that go. But look, potentially, but I'm with you. I mean, Nikita has done absolutely nothing so far to suggest he's going to be a better fighter than Tim. He's got all the talent in the world, but he's got a lot of things he needs to work on. But yeah, it's a pretty ridiculous statement to say that he's,
I mean,
he's
if he would have said, I think he has the potential to surpass his brother. If he's okay, that's different. But to say he's better right now, like this moment, like I'm not ready to say that.
Yeah, I agree.
But he might be like down the line, but not right now. Zarifa fight was not long enough.
Zarifa.
He hadn't even seen him fight, but now he's better than Tim. Like based on that one round he saw, like what are we doing? Yeah. Did he say he went back to watch his fights or something?
Well, no, he just it's on one of the sites this morning. It says here, boxing Hall of Famer Timothy Bradley has to, sorry.
Well, they have a common opponent that Tim destroyed, and Nikita I think he was knocked down by that same guy. The dude with the cowboy hat, what's his name?
Oh, Jack Brewbreaker. Yeah, Jack Brewbreaker. Tim absolutely destroyed Nikita struggle. I mean, that was 2 or 3 years ago. But it says here, Hall of Famer Timothy Bradley, this is on an Australian site, has delivered a sensational takedown of Tim Tszyu, insisting the Aussie former world champion is not as good as Nikita and will be knocked out cold by Errol Spence Jr. That's what the headline is over here at the moment. So
you got to love the media. Like, is that really a sensational take? I mean, it is what it's.
No,
okay. I mean, hey, look, it's his opinion, but I mean, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But well, and look, I've kind of maintained this. I know it's been all over it's died down a little bit now, but I know last week the whole lawsuit thing. I don't know. You've talked about it. I didn't I touched on it, but I'll be honest with you. I'm just speculating, giving my opinion. Like, people were asking me as if I know all the answers. Like, I know what's going to happen. Like, look, I have no idea. Right. What I will say is, from the information available, because obviously I don't know everything, right? I don't know what's in the contract. I don't know the real reason they broke up or whatnot, or why Tim left or whatever the case. I have no idea, right? But I mean what I said earlier. I think as a manager, I do think Tim's career was managed really good. And the results he got, they were not the results he wanted, but that wasn't his management's fault. You know, at the end of the day, maybe Tim didn't like the percentage anymore, or whatever the case is. Maybe some people got in his ear. Maybe he just wanted to move on, make a change, or maybe there's something we don't know about that would be very understandable, but we don't know. But Jeff Phoenix, speaking of him, his statement that he's seen it and he hopes they don't settle it. And look, I don't know a lot. I know about him, the fighter. I don't know a lot about the person, Jeff, but I will say this. That's a very polarizing thing to say, because it's not your career, bro. Like you would, in my opinion, it's better for all parties if they just settle it behind the scenes. Glenn's happy, Tim's happy, everybody moves on, and no drama. It just seems to me like Jeff wants some drama. I don't know, but I just personally didn't like that quote. But from Jeff, all respect to him as a fighter, but I think he's kind of getting involved in something that's not his business. But he's entitled to his opinion. But any thoughts on that, Lynn?
Yeah, look, the main thing I've said right from the word go is, well, let's just hold off on opinions until we actually see what's in the contract. Now, there's no doubt that Tim has sat down probably with Jeff and gone through the setup, and it's okay for Jeff to have his opinion. Not so sure he should have came out in a public forum and commented about it. He probably just sort of said, look, I've got Tim's back and it'll all come out and whatever. But that's not Jeff Fennick. Jeff Fennick in real life is the same as what he was as a fighter. He's in your face, and there's no holding back. There's no grey areas. There's just black and white, and here I am. So, and the reporters know that. They'll always ring him for a comment, and he'll give them exactly what they want. But as I said, we don't know what's in the contract, so we can't comment. My gut feeling is, and I haven't spoken to any like Tim or Glenn about it, but from what I've sort of heard from different sources and everything else, and everyone again's got an opinion, is that Glenn, while he was obviously unhappy that Tim had decided to part ways, they'd been through some big fights together. I'm with you. I think Glenn done a fantastic job as far as being his manager goes. But all that aside, Tim's obviously come to the conclusion that he wants to move on, and that's fine. And my thoughts are that Glenn would have, while he would have been upset, maybe hurt by the whole thing, he sees Tim as a son, that he would, as disappointed as he would have been, he would have said, all right, I'm happy to do, well, not happy to do it, but I'm prepared to do it. But let's sit down and work this out as professionals and we can move on. Tim reportedly and his team refused to return phone calls, refused to sit down with Glenn and lawyers and everything else to sort it out. So in the end, Glenn had no choice but to say, well, I've got to pursue legal pursuits here. And the thing is, the last thing, and Glenn, or you talked to him many times here, Glenn, in my view, would not be doing any of this unless he felt it was 100% needed. I think he would have preferred this to be done out of the public eye, and Tim and Glenn to maybe there's a check written, there's a handshake, or even if there's no handshakes, just thanks for everything. There's a check and let's move on. I think Glenn would have been prepared to take a massive cut of what he was actually earned, a reduced amount, just so they could move on. And I think this will be breaking his heart that it's now come to this where he's going to face Tim Tszyu in a courtroom. But again, like you said, there'll be numerous people in Tim's ear, not just Jeff Fennick and whoever else. So, and that obviously all adds up as well. And we see it so much in boxing, or a lot of different things where you get outside people that get into the stars' heads, and all things happen and relationships get broken up. But I really think that this would be hurting Glenn, and I just think this is the last thing that he would have wanted to do. But at the end of the day, no matter how you look at it, whether you think the contract's no good or it's wrong or it's excessive, whatever it might be, at the end of the day, at this stage, it looks like Glenn has got an ironclad contract with Tim Tszyu, and Tim Tszyu has walked away and broken the contract. That's really on the surface. Now, again, who knows what's in it? The judge will probably decide whether doesn't matter what's in the contract, the way it's been set up and everything else is not right. So he'll rule maybe for Tim, or he'll go for Glenn. But either way, it's just a really messy end to what's always been a really good relationship between Tim and Glenn. And I just think it could have been handled so much differently. I really do. But it is what it is now, and they'll head to court.
Look, I just hope they work it out. I will say this, it's just my armchair opinion, and I felt this from the moment it happened, looking at Tim's quotes, looking how he was moving. meaning he was shouting out his former coach Igor, he was shouting out his cup man, everybody but Glenn. Right there was a thank you to everybody except one dude. Like I wasn't hearing it. So to me, and I'm only saying this as a complete, I have no idea, guys, what's on the contract. Right? Nobody does. Right? Only people that Tim has shown or whatever. But what I will say is, it just seems to me like Tim's very angry about something. Like it's how this cannot be. I'm sure Tim has always known what the percentage that he has to pay Glenn is. So if people, he was charging too high of a percentage. Was he not? I have no idea. Right. I do. What I will say is no one's price is the same. Right. Everyone's price. If one guy wants to charge a certain percentage, that's cool. Doesn't mean somebody else has to do the same thing. Right. Maybe it is high. I have no idea. But what I will say is it just feels like there's something more to it beyond boxing. I just think there has to be something here in the U.S. They call it like unconscionable, like something in the contract that a judge will look at and be like, I don't care if he did sign it. This is unconscionable. I cannot enforce this. I cannot, we're going to have to just void this contract. And unless there's something like that, what that would be, I have no idea.
I think that's what they're going for.
Yeah, and even if it isn't that, but it makes Tim feel that way. Like even if a judge doesn't think it is, but Tim feels about it, I think that's what it is. I don't think it's the percentage or anything like that. But people are guessing that, which I understand, but
yeah,
there's no way Tim didn't know the percentage that Glenn was getting. I mean, and Nikita seems happy. I mean, I'm sure Nikita by now, I'm assuming would have looked at his contract, no? Like by now?
Yeah, well, it's the same contract from what I've heard. So, yeah.
I'm sure his brother told him, no, hey, look at what's here. And maybe I'm sure Nikita would look at his contract, I would assume.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, there's so many what ifs in the whole situation, isn't there? And, and the thing is, I think you're right. I think that the track they'll go down is that the contract is unjust and excessive and everything else. Or you might have the judge that says, well, stiff. He was 23 years old when he signed the contract, by the way. 23 years old. That's the same age as what Canelo was when he fought Mayweather. So he's an adult. He's an adult. And is it really Glenn's fault if he didn't want representation there? I think from what I've heard, and again, it's all hearsay, but it was almost strongly pushed by sort of Glenn to sign it, and didn't make the right decision to have other representation there or get advice from someone like a Jeff Fennick, whatever, and was pretty much forced into signing the contract. I think that's what they're sort of alleging. But again, this is just all different people having their say. And I suppose it'll all play out. I mean, you can sort of see both sides. I must admit, I'm sort of seeing more from Glenn's side, but I don't know what's in the contract, so I don't know. On the surface, I would think that Glenn's done his job. He deserves to be paid. He's got a contract. So if you want to break the contract, then you pay up. But again, I haven't seen the contract, so that's the other side. So many different things. What I don't like, though, is that there's so many people making assumptions and choosing sides without knowing anything about anything. They're just like, oh, well, he wants to go, let him go. Well, okay, if you're getting 10, 15% or whatever it is of millions of dollars, are you just going to just walk away and just say, thanks very much, and have a fight or whatever you've done so much for just to say I've had enough and walk, and you're going to let him walk away? Are you really going to do that? No.
Yeah, look. This is assuming there's nothing unconscionable in the contract.
That's right.
Again, we don't know what's on there, right?
Yeah.
But just not knowing what's in the contract, just from looking from the outside looking in, I think Glenn has a hell of a case. I mean, you go from the starting point when you sign a contract and look at where he got you, right? I think he did a lot of good work with Tszyu, right? A lot of good work. I don't know when they started from when he was with Glenn. I don't know at what point No Limit was established and he got with No Limit, but
2000 and he got with Glenn. He signed with him in 2016 because he fought on my show in 2018, and he signed with No Limit at the start of 2019. So he'd been with Glenn for nearly 3 years before No Limit signed him.
So he went from, I don't know where to start. Now, granted, look, it's the son of Tszyu, so I get there's a big advantage there, right? But still, I still think they did a phenomenal job. Tszyu was fighting in stadiums, bro. Before he was nowhere near a world title.
Pay-per-views for probably his last 15 fights. Yep.
and then like I thought No Limit's done a good job with him as well. Like
Fantastic job.
Gotta
Yep.
be honest. So
Mhm.
it's gonna be hard. Like if it's a percentage, right? I could see a judge saying, "Well, like you didn't have a problem with the percentage when things were going great." I mean, you
Yep.
know what you were paying them. Like Glenn could say, "I don't care what anybody says." Like if they thought they could do a better job with Tim, but look at what we did, right? Like it's so it's again. I'll leave it at that because if I keep talking, it's just all speculation. So, like to be honest with you, like so, there's a lot of if this, if that, if this, but what's going to happen is going to happen. So you're right. Let's just wait, see what happens, and that's that. All right.
The thing too is that they're both great people, great teams, all that sort of stuff, and it's just unfortunate. It's just going to come to this.
I just think it's better for everybody if they just work it out behind the scenes, right?
Yep.
If they talk, 9 out of 10 times when you talk it out, misunderstandings can get resolved, right? A lot of this could just be a big misunderstanding. Like for all we know,
Well,
who knows?
you think about it. If you blocked out all the exterior comments and opinions and all this sort of stuff, and you had Tim and his lawyer and Glenn and his lawyer go in a room and sit down together, surely they could work it out. But at the moment, you've got everyone that's no, you should do this and you should do that. No, he's this and he's that. Hopefully if the lawyers any substance, they should be saying, hey guys, let's just, before we get into all this messy stuff, how about we just sit down and have a coffee and see what we can work out. If it can't be worked out, no problems, we move on, but at least try. But we know lawyers don't operate that way, do we? It's all about how much they can draw it out.
Look, to your point, and this is the last thing I'll say, because I've interviewed Glenn several times, right? I did not ask him to come on because this is a very sensitive topic, and I don't think he could say much before going to court if it goes, right? So it is what it is. But I mean, from interviewing him, when he started, he only had Tim, and then he took on his brother, right? And then like he took on Shannon O'Connell, but again, it was just 3 fighters, like that's it for a while. He ended up selling his security company and everything to pursue this manager thing full time, and then the top guy, the one he started with, it just left all of a sudden, and people are telling him, "Oh, you should just let him go."
That's what I'm saying.
No, I don't know about that. Like that's not the way it works, you know. So
yeah, and I'm with you on that, and that's one good thing. I mean, Glenn is as you know, he's a very, very good man. And the thing is, a lot of people probably don't realize that Glenn wasn't involved in boxing when he was approached by Tim to take him on. He had a very successful security business. He had this amazing setup with all his American cars. He had I think it was called the Lost in the 50s or something. There was this massive, almost Disneyland for car enthusiasts with all the setup with all these American cars. And he didn't have to take Tim on. This is what people realize. Didn't need to take Tim on. Didn't need the money. Took him on because Tim and his mother actually asked him to take him on. So he took him on, done the best for him that he could. And now all of a sudden, after he lost the belts, it was not good enough. He was ripping Tim off. You know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense. But anyway.
That doesn't sound like he forced him to sign like, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, but it is what it is. Just a quick shout out, Team Batman, E. Woodson, LT, JC, how you doing? Chicano Province asking if Spence was on Tim's hit list. I think he was on that.
Oh, was he? Was he?
I don't remember actually.
No, I don't think he was.
Set?
Crawford was. Canelo was. Yeah. Charlo was. Yeah.
Man, he had some big aspirations. You know, can't knock him for it. But Trunk Irishman, how's it going? Yeah. Zoo Shakur's manager. I'm not familiar with Shakur's manager.
No, I don't know that. No.
I don't know about that. He said he heard the snakes in the camp. I don't know. I just sound like you're spreading some rumors there. Adam Kelly, how's it going? Hope everything's good at your end. And are there any notable gyms in the Outback?
Plenty of notable gyms in the Outback. Yes, plenty.
There is.
Well, sorry, are you referring to Australia as the Outback or just the actual Outback? The Outback is just desert. No.
Desert, yeah.
That's like saying, is there a boxing gym in the middle of bloody Montana or somewhere? No, there's not.
Probably not, no. But there's some in Colorado. You know,
is there? Oh, yeah. Well, Colorado has the training camp there, doesn't it? So
yeah, that's right. So let's one more thing before we talk about Garcia Barrios. There's a lot to talk about there, but Glenn, Lyndon, I'm sorry.
Yep.
What is your? We were talking about Glenn and Tim so long, but Lyndon, talk to us about what is your and they're going to be on tonight actually. I think the prelims are on right now, but Zuffa boxing. What is your? How have you received of anything you've watched so far?
I'm a little bit sort of in between because I don't think I watched the last couple of shows, and to me they're just regular boxing shows, no different to a pro box or something like that. That's the way they look to me. The fights have been okay, like quality wise. So to me, they just look like everyday boxing events that you see every day, whether over here or over there. You know, I mean, I just don't see the difference as far as the actual setup goes. I like what's coming out of Dana White's mouths after the press conferences or during the press conferences afterwards when it's building and he's got these plans and whatever happening. But look, I think they're building. I think getting Jai, of course, was great. And they tried to get Bam Rodriguez. I'm sure they'll try and get others, but you can see the narrative has shifted as well, though, where all of a sudden it was going to be, was there going to be 8 divisions, so 1 champion, and we were going to block out all the other belts, but now they're willing to work in with other belts.
Right.
The WBC were pretty critical of Zuffa, and now they're prepared to work with them. So I think overall they'll see it for what it is, and if the potential's there for everyone to make more money, then they'll obviously work together. But I don't mind it. I like the fact that they've stipulated the 8 divisions. They're about to launch the first Zuffa belt with Jai Pataya next month. Yeah, I don't mind it. Look, I'm prepared to give it a go. I suppose at the start I didn't like the concept because I didn't see how it could be successful by not operating with all the elite fighters out there and all the belts and everything else. But now on the flip side, I was actually quite excited. Not as excited as Max Kellerman, of course, but excited that there could be a potential organization that would run boxing properly like the UFC does. But I'm still to be convinced because I just don't think, unlike the UFC, which was just started from scratch, I just don't see how Zuffa can have a similar thing when you've got the match rooms and Golden Boys and Queensberries and everyone else out there who's still actively promoting and have a lot of elite fighters out there. So, it is what it is. I mean, it's another boxing event to watch, but I think it's going to be a 5, 10, 15-year process, really, before we sort of see any real results, I would think.
Well, we do know they have a lot of backing. The Saudis are behind it, so the money's there. They have a TV deal locked in, I think, like for 3 years with Paramount Plus, and which has like 60 or 70, whatever it is, million subscribers. And so I think that first event got like 6 million viewers or whatever it was. Like they had a good amount of viewers, and it's available worldwide. So I think those are the positives about it. And the fights have been good. Like I can't really complain about the fights. The matchmaking has been pretty decent actually. And it's also giving an opportunity to fighters that, quite frankly, the same promoters talking all this trash, like, aren't signing those fighters. Like, it is what it is. Eddie Hearn could have whatever opinions about how they're handling the Jai situation, but you could have signed Jai again, but you didn't.
Yeah, so they had him.
And they had Jai fighting in some obscure app somewhere that like nobody knows about. Like,
Stan,
yeah. Like, what was the name of it?
Stan. That's a weird name. STAN. Stan. Yeah, Stan. And now they've signed with Tasman Fighters, who is promotional for them. They'll be doing all the Australian fight nights here. I think actually there's one next month. Jason Maloney will be headlining that with Van Marnie, the 154. But anyway, yep.
So there you go. So like what I like about the Jai situation is they're going to keep him busy. They're going to give him guaranteed dates, right? They're going to have him on his app. He's going to have more visibility in Australia. And I'm pretty sure Paramount Plus is available in Australia, right?
It is, yeah. Yep.
Okay, so like Australia, US, like around the world, are going to have access to watching Jai. And it's not like the boxing world was doing much of Jai anyway. I mean, but on top of that, they've already said that, Jai's still going to be on these ring cards in Riyadh season. So I think that's where his big fights are going to be. So, and they did say, at least Dana did, that, he'll let Jai, unify the belts if he wants on the ring cards. And So I can't complain about that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna see him active. He'll be on these Zuffa cards in between, but he'll still be on these big Riyadh season cards. I think Jai's in a sweet spot right now, to be honest with you. But
yeah, I agree.
now for the people saying, by the way, that it's the original 8, it's not. Cruiserweight is not.
Cruiserweight's in there, isn't it? Yeah,
because Cruiserweight's there, but it's there conveniently because they got Jai. So that's why they decided.
Flyweight's not there.
Yeah, Flyweight's not there, which I think is a mistake. Dana needs to understand that maybe he does or doesn't, but yeah, that's a lot of Latino fighters, Latin American fighters. That's a lot of fighters from Asia, Japan, Philippines, like that could become big names in their countries, and I think they're missing out by not including the flyweight division. That's my opinion, but they
don't mention a women either, have they?
No, they have not.
Well, MVP's pretty much got them all stitched up, haven't they?
Well, not yes and no. Like I know the girl that just beat Ebony Bridges, and she can't. No one's returning her calls, and no one's really. I think they're going to try to pretend like that fight never happened, but we'll see what happens with that. But I still think there's a lot of women still that could sign. To be honest with you, So, but hey, so Tasman fighters they're on Stan, huh?
They're on Stan. So the domestic fights, and I think they've got I think they might be half a dozen shows a year or something. So they'll be all on Stan, and then the international stuff will all be on Paramount Plus. So, Mick Francis, the promoter and manager of Jai, he was with DAZN. Now he's switched to Stan. He sees that as a better arrangement because Stan Sport are at least paying him to put shows on where DAZN didn't give him any money whatsoever. So they get promoted up as being the world's broadcaster, but they're not actually supporting real grassroots shows. So
yeah, what really gets me about this whole thing. DAZN is charging me over $40 American every month. Okay. And what am I paying them for if they're not giving me what they promised from the beginning? They're going to give me all this boxing from around the world, right? When I saw they're not even going to have Jai on there, I'm like, well, okay, well, what are we doing? Right. And it seems like every big event, the reason I'm paying that much because they're pay-per-view events, but with the non-premium ones, they don't really give us a lot, to be honest with you.
No.
So it's for what they charge. They should probably have Tasman fighters like cards on there, to be honest with you. They should probably have the Japanese cards. I don't think Inoue should have ever been fighting on Facebook. I think DAZN should have picked up that fight. But they're not giving the boxing fan, at least for what they're charging us Americans. I don't think it's not worth it. Like I'm only paying for it because I'm a diehard and I want to watch.
Is the $40 that the new one, the pay-per-view one, or?
Yeah. Because if you don't pay that, because if you don't pay that, they still charge you for the pay-per-views. I think I did the yearly payment. I think it ends in June, I think. So I keep getting the request to upgrade, but I just haven't seen any fights worthy of upgrading to with the pay-per-view stuff. So I just think it's been really disappointing, the DAZN thing. And I reckon if someone like Netflix got serious, they could really almost put DAZN out of business, I would thought. And Paramount Plus and look like they're going to have a crack as well. So I've just been disappointed in DAZN. I think for what they charge, they could have done a hell of a lot better. 100%. If you pay the regular like $24.99, which I still think is a lot, right?
Yeah.
You still got to buy the pay-per-view. You don't even get a discount. Like it's like, what? I don't get a discount. Like, well, what are we doing? It's just, and it's at least one pay-per-view a month. So this is it's out of control. So
and you know what's going to happen eventually. You'll have this new premium package, whatever it is that you're on, with the pay-per-views included, but then you'll get a Crawford Canelo type of fight, and they'll say, "Oh no, well this is outside of that because it's such a big event. Now we're going to charge a pay-per-view, an extra pay-per-view amount."
You're right, because that's 12 pay-per-views that they say a year, so they'll make that at the 13th.
And so now it's going to cost you $60. Yeah,
100%. Right.
Yeah.
So look. By the way, it's on after this show. Zuffa will be you guys can watch those fights if you're available and all that good stuff. I think it's Martin against Efe Jaba. I think that's a good scrap, actually.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
you know, it's not going to rock our world, but you know, but
better than nothing.
100%. I mean, this is what we would get on PBC Fox, so it's not that crazy.
Yeah.
Lyndon, one more before we get to Garcia Barrios, because I was kind of looking around, like, does No Limit still have like exclusive deal with Fox Sports over there, or is Matchroom have a deal now?
No, they do have the exclusive deal. Well, they did have one. I think what's happened is that it's always been No Limit with Foxtel, which is Fox Sports, and Main Event is the pay-per-view channel. Then the way now, obviously, Foxtel has been taken over by DAZN. DAZN now own Foxtel. And, of course, we know that Eddie is in with DAZN. So now it's created a loophole where No Limit have the Foxtel arrangement, but because Eddie had the DAZN arrangement, now they can sort of coexist together. Now, it was announced here last week that Eddie Hearn will be doing 8 shows in Australia, 4 free-to-air and 4 pay-per-view. I've heard on the grapevine that he'll probably only do 3, maybe 4. There's just not the dates here and the fighters here to put those on. So, but that's what he's been offered is 8 shows. So they're almost going to run in conjunction with each other. But now you have obviously Netflix, not that that'll affect Australian boxing too much, but Paramount Plus now with the Jai Pattaya thing. So his fights will be streamed live into Australia now. And then you've got who else is there? Stan, of course, as well. So they're all sort of existing together. But as far as the actual pay-per-view and free-to-air stuff, it's now Eddie Hearn and No Limit together, even though they've got separate contracts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I think the April is going to be Eddie Hearn's first. So this will be the test. It's going to have Sky Nicholson apparently as the main event on a pay-per-view. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. Maybe they might change it to a free-to-air. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure Australian boxing is ready for, as good as she is, Sky Nicholson is ready for a female fighter to headline a pay-per-view. We'll see. Unless they stack the undercard, maybe. I don't know.
I will say it depends who she fights, by the way. But even then, I'm not trying to knock the women or nothing, but like
no,
I seen the arenas, like even on the MVP cards, like I seen the arena, they're empty to the main event, and a lot of the cards on these little arenas with 1,000 people in it. So like let's just be honest, right? And Sky Nicholson. I just don't see her headlining a pay-per-view event. I mean,
nah. And you know, maybe, as I said, they could stack the undercard, but it's not having a go at the girls. I think what the girls do is fantastic, and I will watch women's boxing, but it doesn't. It's like society these days. You can't. Doesn't mean you got to hide away from the facts, and the facts are the majority of boxing fans are men. Sorry to all the women fans out there, but it is fact. And men still have. I don't know what it's like over there, but especially here in Australia, they haven't warmed to women's boxing yet. They will support the women's fights if they're on a major card, no problem. But it's just it is what it is. So we don't want to hurt feelings, but at the end of the day, as I said, facts are facts, and I just don't think we're ready.
It's like when I interviewed Christy. This was years ago. Right, like I interviewed Christy Martin, and she said like the highlight of her career was being on the undercard of Mike Tyson cards, right? And she said that was bigger than if I was the main event on another card. It meant more to me if I was higher on the card on some other card, because anywhere on the card on a Mike Tyson card meant more eyeballs on me. It made me a bigger household name. More people knew who I was because I was fighting under Mike Tyson undercards, right? And I've always felt that is the model for women's boxing, right?
I agree. Yep.
Katie Taylor is a huge name, but she made her mark being on Anthony Joshua undercards. Yep. That's the truth, right? Now, she's a very rare person that became a big star as a female, her and Amanda, but that is like such an exception to the rule. Like it's no one even comes close, right? We have Shields. I forgot her name for a second. But, Clarissa Shields, who insists she doesn't want to be on undercard. She's a headliner. And, well, okay, well, that's why nobody buys her fights. Like that's why nobody watches them. That's why they're not big events. That's why, she got all mad when I don't know if you ever saw when Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor had like 60 million viewers. Why? Because they were on the undercard of a Mike Tyson fight. Speaking of Mike Tyson. Right? Yep. That's the most viewed women's fight ever, right? And they put it out there, right? And Carissa was, that doesn't count. It's an undercard fight. No, it does count, right? And to all the women out there, it counts. If you are on an undercard of a major event, more people will watch you, right? And I've always felt this way, and it just isn't an insult to the women, but their best place is to complement a big main event and be a good fight on the undercard. You're going to get more eyeballs on you. Your fight's going to be a bigger deal that way. That's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And it's not a slight on the women, but again, you got to look at facts, and I know it's all about equality and giving the opportunity. That's great. Yeah. But the current state of the world of the boxing world is that the best format is to have a stat card and have a really good female fight or two on the card and promote the event together. I mean, we've got one here. Well, Shannon O'Connell's fighting, I think might be this weekend or the one after.
Two weeks, yeah.
SNL Dargan here on a Wanderers promotion card. And it's great because they've got a really good men's main event. And then they've got that as the co-main event. I think it's fantastic. Or it might not be co-main, but it's been marketed as part of the card, of the overall card. And I think it's awesome for the girls. And I just think that's where we sit. And again, and I saw your talk with, is it Chris in the ring with Christine? And I know that sort of got a little bit heated. And I really applaud her for standing her ground. But you can't still beat facts, and the facts is where boxing sits at the moment. It's come a hell of a long way from the Christy Martin days, obviously. And I was at the Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fight at Madison Square Garden, which was awesome, great event. But that's just one in, a million shows that you're going to get that. So I think it's great what MVP are doing, but I think the women have just got to look at where they sit at the moment, and they'll get their opportunities. But I'm just not sure, especially here in Australia, we're ready for a standalone pay-per-view.
Another example, LT says, shout out to Super Bad Estrada. Look, a lot of people saw her fight with Valle because it was the co-main of, was it Valdez and
Wilson? I was there that night. Yeah, that was a great fight. Yeah.
And more people saw it because it was on an undercard. Like that's the truth. Like it was better for them. It's better for everybody. It's good for the men because they have a good undercard. Like a good main event loves a good undercard. So it works for everyone, right? Yep. Speaking of all that, I'm glad you brought it up. I think it's Wanderer Promotions. Is that how you pronounce it?
Mm-hmm.
So
Wanderer Promotions, yeah.
Wanderer Promotions.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty new. I don't remember seeing them around. So I'm assuming
been around a couple of years. That's about it.
Oh, have they? Okay. All right. Well,
small shows. Yeah.
Well, they're making their mark right now for sure because they're all over social media at the moment. But Wanderer Promotions, I think they're doing a good job, and I just want to kind of give an example of the way I think you should be promoting versus the way you shouldn't be promoting. Okay. I don't just bring stuff up randomly. Right. For those that are subscribed to me, you saw how much I was bitching and complaining, right? With the way they were promoting Jazzy Parr versus Shannon O'Connell. They literally were not promoting a fight. They were just putting Jazzy Parr on bikinis, and it was the Jazzy Parr show. And you would think, you would think it was just, Jazzy Parr's supposed to show up. It's a coronation, not a fight. She's going to show up, beat up Shannon O'Connell. That'll be, she's going to, she's the new queen of Australian boxing. Shannon O'Connell wasn't even at the press conference in Sydney when they announced the fight. They had I counted them, 40 posts. 45 of them were about Jazzy Parr, 2 of them about Shannon O'Connell. Oh, great promotion, right? Not one interview with Shannon O'Connell, nothing. Compare it to what they're doing right now with Dargan and Shannon O'Connell. Like you look at that, they're promoting a fight. They're telling everybody this could be a potential fight of the year candidate, right? And they're in a win-win. If Dargan wins, hey, she beat a veteran, Shannon O'Connell. Now she goes to the next level. If Shannon O'Connell wins, what a story. Everyone says she was done, but here she is in a winning streak. So they're going to the Fortitude Gym to interview Shannon O'Connell, like they're interviewing other fighters there. They're interviewing both fighters.
Effort, style. They're making an effort, unlike some other promoters.
they're making an effort to promote the fight.
Yeah.
And it is a good fight, and it's a really good undercard fight. So why wouldn't you promote it? So that's how I feel about it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I do think it's gonna be a great fight. So
it will be. It's on Triller, I think it is. If you want to watch it over there, Triller. If you've got a Triller, TRILLER, Triller.
Man, you know, I keep hearing about all these apps are supposed to save us money, but like, I mean, we need Stan, Triller.
Well, this is free. This is free. This one too. The fight's free if you want to look at. Yeah, so download Triller. What didn't they? I think they were going to do the Cambosis and Lopez fight as well, and I think that's why it got delayed for so long. They were going to be the new big players in boxing, and that didn't last long. But if you're over there and you want to watch it, I'm not sure whether you can watch it in the States. I'm assuming you can, but it's Triller, and it's free to watch apparently. So,
but that's a great way to put it. They're putting the effort to promote the fight. You know, and I think that's, and I'm looking at it, I'm saying to myself, well, yeah, that's how you promote fights. That's how you promote, you know, and it's just not what I'm seeing with another promotional company that has way more resources and a bigger budget. Like, you know, I'll say that.
You know why too? The guy that owns or runs Wanderer Promotions is actually a former professional fighter, so he knows the business. This has probably always been my criticism of No Limit. Yes, they have the keys to the Ferrari, but they're not boxing business people. They've come into boxing and have never been boxers. They've never been involved in boxing, and they suddenly decide to become promoters, and they don't realize that this is the way you do it. And the guys at Wanderer are you know, as I said, he's an ex-professional fighter, so he knows the business, and he knows that fights need to be promoted to sell, and that's what he's doing.
That's right. JC, how's it going? Oh, everything's good. Eric Gomez. Yes, Triller is still around, brother. 100%. Okay.
Yeah.
And Ryan Garcia. Did you see, Lyndon, how he didn't submit his 14-day weigh or whatever on time, and so they fined him $5,000. By the way, I agree with if that's the rule, and he didn't abide by it. Yeah. I agree I agree with him getting fined, by the way, and I think 5,000 is a suitable amount. They're not trying to like get 150,000 from him, but like in other situations,
like last time, geez, they cleaned him out.
Yeah, so I mean I think that's how many opportunities? Like this kid, he doesn't even deserve a shot. Number one, and then he's not submitting his weight thing on time, like. Yeah. This is the same guy, by the way, that didn't make weight for the fight with Devin Haney. He has a bad history of not making weight, and no offense to modern day fighters, not all of them, of course, but they don't seem to have any shame in missing weight and being unprofessional. It seems nowadays, you know,
it's almost like a competition, isn't it, to see who can be sort of the most sort of non-compliant.
Yeah, like I remember when fighters would miss weight by a little bit, and they looked embarrassed. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember those days, but now it's like whatever, right? So I don't think it's you're getting a title shot you don't deserve here, and then you're acting this way, not submitting your weight on time. I mean, and people wonder why I don't like Ryan Garcia. Right? With that said, I just look. I'm not that impressed with Mario Barrios. I'm not saying he's a bad fighter, but he's not world champion quality to me. He never has been. This is a fighter who circumstances allowed him to win some interim, and then he was elevated to being a world champion. He, in my opinion, I couldn't believe what I was watching, but I thought he lost the fight with Manny Pacquiao, right?
Yep.
And the whole time I'm wondering, like, man, you're younger, you're bigger, you're stronger than this old man, and you're not stepping on the gas. Like, I guess that's just the way he fights, but I think Ryan Garcia is going to actually win this fight. And if he makes weight, I think he's going to be he's finally going to win his world title in his fight league.
We'll see. Well, I think he ended up making the weight, I think, a day or so afterwards. And I think he's just had the 7-day weigh-in where he did. And I think he was 2.5 pounds over or something of the actual weight. So he obviously won't have an issue making it on the day. But I'm with you. Look, I mean, the Garcia that turned up against Roller Romero was just ridiculously bad. I mean, that was a shocking performance. He should have beaten Ramiro. Barrios is probably on a similar level to Ramiro, maybe. So if Garcia actually turns up, probably more mentally than physically, he should win this fight. But you can just sort of see if Garcia turns up with the same mindset as last time out, you can sort of see how Barrios is sort of jabbing his way through the fight, can't you? And just sort of keeping the work rate up and just winning. But I'm with you. I think Garcia will win, but geez, he better turn up this time, because if he doesn't, it'll be the biggest waste of talent you've ever seen.
My God. Look, Barrios has a decent jab. All right. So that could cause some problems for Ryan. And if Ryan, I don't know, if he doesn't have like some success early, I could see him unraveling. But I just don't see him missing that left hook on Barrios. I just don't.
Yeah.
I do think he's too fast for Barrios. I really do. Like, Manny was too fast for him. It's just that Manny couldn't keep up the pace because I mean, Manny's a legend, but he ain't what he used to be, you know? But if Manny Pacquiao was just like early in that fight, I thought he was easily beating Barrios. And then the fight got close because Manny started to slow down. But
I still think Pacquiao won on with you. I thought he won.
Yeah, I still think he pulled it off, but you could see how speed really bothered Barrios there. And I think he's got that. I know Ryan was joking about how he doesn't have a really big frame, but he's got a big head. Well, he's got a pretty big target there, you know. And another thing about Ryan, that left hook does damage to the body too. You know, as Campbell, you know, so
he's just got to throw
torso. It. I mean, I what else is he going to do against Barrios?
Yeah,
I mean, I think he's gonna, when Barrios misses that jab, he's gonna come in and just throw like 3-4 hooks, and that he's gonna bank on it. I think he's gonna land it, and
the thing with Barrios, though, at least the thing I like about him, though, he's very, very limited. We know that, but at least he's tight. You know, he's nice and compact and nice and neat with his punches, and doesn't take a hell of a lot of risks. He's just a very one-dimensional type of fighter, but he's that the type of fighter that you need to beat someone like Garcia, and not sort of open yourself up to that hook and everything else, because he's so unpredictable with it. So maybe if he does fight nice and tight, and again doesn't take any risks, does he just continue just to outbox Garcia, who's very spasmodic, and you know, he goes up and down in tempo and that as well a lot, Ryan Garcia. So I mean, by rights, Garcia should win, but it completely just depends on what Garcia turns up.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think Barrios is a bad fighter. Like, you're not going to beat Ugas if you're a bad fighter, right? But I don't see. This is a guy who was a world champion due to circumstance. He's not like, I don't look at him, and that's one of the issues I have with the sport at the moment. I'm seeing fighters that are not world champion quality become world champions, right? And it's not just because there's 4 belts; it's the process. Like, they throw them in there with random guys to become interims, and then they elevate them. I've always hated the elevation. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah. Nobody should be elevated to become a world champion. I just don't. I don't like that.
Look at 168. What's happened there? You've had 3 of them have been elevated.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
2, 3. Well, and Billy was just elevated. Resendez was elevated. Who's the WBO? Who's got the WBO 168? That's Shiraz is going to be fighting for that, and then you've got the Iglesias, the Cuban's going to fight for the IBF. So 2 out of the 4 have just been given to the champion.
IBF ordered the fight with that Cuban and Canelo, and I guess Canelo didn't respond to that. I'm going to come back and fight him. Like, come on, right?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And is Zaraz the WBO interim or something?
No, he's going to be fighting. I can't even remember his name. He fought a couple of weeks back, but yeah, I can't remember what was his name, but yeah, Shiraz is fighting a complete unknown for the WBO belt, and Billy was given the WBC, Resendez was given the WBA, and now the Cuban's going to fight some other obscure guy for the IBF belt. So it's just a mess.
Yeah. I wonder if like Barrios going to try to win that fight with just his jab.
Yeah, maybe. So I'm just
Keep
looking at it
glove
now.
up,
Sorry to cut you off. Yeah, Shiraz is going to fight Alem Bejic, I think his name is, for the WBO. Iglesias is going to be fighting Pavel is it Siliajan? I think you pronounce it.
Hmm.
That's who he's fighting. So, and then meanwhile, you've got, I suppose, guys like Plant and Munguia, Pacheco. Neither one of those guys are in the fight. Yeah, it's surprising that Pacheco didn't want to fight Shiraz for that WBO belt, isn't it? Because I think that was the one that they threw up and just didn't want it.
Man. I will say I also thought Ryan was going to knock out Raleigh, so that did not go I expected. But I do think Ryan does better if guys don't really have the power to hurt him, and I think and I think he's going to drop Barrios.
And good point there from Naz. How are you there, Naz? Who says Joe Goosen might be a factor as well that hasn't really been mentioned either. Good trainer, great trainer. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to have a game plan for sure. I do think they're going to work behind the jab and keep a tight guard and hope Garcia just kind of, throws hooks to the wind and counter. If he could somehow successfully counter Garcia, I don't think he can, but if he can, that's a quick hook. That's Haney couldn't really time that hook. So I think it's going to be difficult for Barrios. But if he could do it, I mean, look, Goosen has worked with Ryan, so he may know something that we don't. So it's going to be interesting. You know what I mean? So
certainly will be.
Right.
Should be good.
Somebody said Barrios has a Hall of Fame resume. I mean, you got to win the fights. You know what I mean? He didn't beat Tank. He didn't beat Thurman. He did beat Ugas, but that was a good win. I'm not going to really say it's not, but other than that, though, I mean, what else has he done? I mean, I'm not that impressed with him. You know what I mean? He hooked up with that sister of Figueroa. That's about it. People think he's a winner because of that.
Yeah, maybe he might be, but no. Look, I admit, I mean, I'm not overly excited about the fight, but it's on. We'll watch it. It is a pay-per-view, though, isn't it? I think Garcia and Barrios.
The US it is. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but
it is. Yeah, it's on DAZN, isn't it? Yeah. I'm not really. Yeah, I might just watch the replay later of that one.
yeah. That's pretty much it. But any final thoughts, Lyndon, before we wrap this one up? You got a show tonight?
No, not really, mate. Just looking forward to a big few weeks coming up. There's some big events, and I'm just waiting on the announcement of the Paro Crocker and Tim Tszyu card, which should be this week, hopefully. And I think Nikita's going to be fighting in April, from what I've heard as well. So a little bit happening over here in Australia, and of course, with Stan Sport with. Tasman as well. They've got a big card in April as well. So a bit going on, but just looking forward to some big fights over the next couple of months.
All righty. Well, there you go, guys. This is D-Style, and for Lyndon, we are out of here. Enjoy the Zuffa card. You guys are going to watch it. Peace.
See you, mate.